Let's get started practicing dividing decimals, but this time we're going to be dividing by a decimal. So it's a little bit different than dividing by a whole number. So let's take a second and look at our first problem. 0.06 and 2.4. Now let's look at this problem for a second. With normal long division, you would ask yourself, how many times does 0.06 fit into 2? Well, I don't know what that is off the top of my head, and for most people that would be a really tricky problem to answer. But mathematicians came up with a simple solution, and all you have to do is get rid of the decimals. The way we're going to do that is we're going to move our decimal place over until we have a completely whole number. So I have to move my decimal 1, 2 places over, and if I move it over for one of my numbers, I have to move the decimal place over the same amount of times for my other number. So my new problem becomes 24 divided by 6. Then we can ask ourselves, how many times does 6 fit into 2? Fits in 0 times. 0 times 6 is 0. 2 minus 0 is 2. Bring down our next number. 6 fits into 24 4 times. And 6 times 4 is 24. (24) minus 24 is 0. Once you're done with bringing numbers down and you end with a 0, your final answer, remember we moved our decimal place over twice here, so it's technically behind the 4. You still bring the decimal point up. So in this case, our answer is a whole 4. Alright, let's look at another problem here. This time when we move our decimal places over, we only have to move once. So we're still going to have this decimal here in our problem. So our new problem becomes 33.2 divided by 4. How many times does 4 fit into 3? Can't. So it's 0 times. 3 minus 0 is 3. We'll bring down our next number. We have to ask ourselves, how many times can 4 fit into 33? Can fit in 8 times. 8 times 4 is 32. 3 minus 2 is 1. 3 minus 3 is 0. Bring down our last number here. How many times can 4 fit into 12? Can fit in 3 times. 3 times 4 is 12. And 12 minus 12 is 0. Again, we have no more numbers to bring down, and we're ending up with a 0 down here, so we are done. Our last step is just to bring up the decimal point. So our final answer is 8.3. I have two problems here that I want you to try on your own. So press pause while you complete your work, and then when you're ready to check your answer, press play. So for our first problem, we have to move our decimal over just one spot to get a whole number. So we have to move our decimal over one time to get a whole number here. So our new problem becomes 16.8 divided by 8. 8 can fit into 1 0 times, and 0 times 8 is 0. 1 minus 0 is 1. Bring down the 6. 8 can fit into 16 2 times. 2 times 8 is 16. 16 minus 16 is 0. Bring down our next number, 8. 8 can fit into 8 one time. 8 times 8 is 8. 8 minus 8 is 0. And then our last step is bring up that decimal. So our final answer is 2.1. Alright, in this problem we had to move our decimal over 2 times to get a whole number. So our new problem here becomes 24.9 divided by 3. 3 can fit into 2 times 0. 3 times 0 is 0. 2 minus 0 is 2. Bring down the 4. 3 can fit into 24 8 times. 8 times 3 is 24. 24 minus 24 is 0. Bring down the 9. 3 can fit into 9 3 times. 3 times 3 is 9. And 9 minus 9 is 0. Nothing left to bring down, so we just have to bring up our decimal point. And our final answer is 8.3. I have 3 more example problems I want you to look at. And these are a little bit different, but you'll have some practice problems like these, so I wanted to take the time to go through them. Alright, let's look at this first one here. When we move over our decimal one place there, we're ending up with 8.1 divided by 1. Now if you remember back to our basic math skills, anything times 1 or divided by 1 is going to be that same number. So our answer should turn out to be 8.1 here. Whenever you have a 0.1 and it turns into a 1, don't go through all the extra work. You know anything times 1 or divided by 1 is still that same original number. Alright, let's look at this one though. So we have to move our decimal place over twice here to get a whole number. We have to move our decimal over here twice to get a whole number. So our new problem becomes 25 and 472.5. I wanted to show you this problem because we have a much larger number here than we were working with before, so you may have to do a little bit of extra work. What I mean by that is 25 can't fit into 4, it's in 0 times. 4 minus 0 is 4, and bring down the 7. Now you might be good with working with 25 because if you can think of it in terms of quarters, 25, 50, 75, $1. But if you don't, just work over off to the side of your page and work through the problem. So we ask ourselves, how many times can 25 fit into 47? Again, let's go back to quarters. So 25, 50. 50 is too big, so it can only fit in 1 time. 7 minus 5 is 2. 4 minus 2 is 2. We have to bring down our next number. So let's come by quarters again. We have 25, 50, 75, $1 or 100, 125, 150, 175, $2 or 200. That's 8 quarters. 225 is going to be too big. Over to the side, let's check that. 25 times 8. 8 times 5 is 40. 8 times 2 is 16 plus 4 is 220. So that's right, we have 200. So we know it can fit in 8 times. We're going to subtract 200. 2 minus 0 is 2. 2 minus 0 is 2. 0 minus 0, or 2 minus 2 is 0. Bring down that next 5. You may see where this is going since we just counted up by quarters and got to 225. But if we know 25 times 8 is too small, let's try 25 times 9. 5 times 9 is 45. 9 times 2 is 18. Plus 4 more is 22. And we get 225. We know it fits in 9 times. We'll put our 225 down at the bottom and subtract. We have nothing left to bring down. Our answer is 0 down here. So we bring up our decimal, and after all that work, we know 472.5 divided by 25 is 18.9, which remember is the same thing as our original problem, 4.725 divided by 0.25. You'll get 18.9. Alright, pause the video and try this last problem. Press play when you're ready to check your work. Alright, we have to move our decimal place over twice. So we have a new problem, 78 and 4,914. Alright, we know that 78 can't fit into 4. 78 can't even fit into 49. But 78 can fit into 491. Now, 78 multiplication facts probably aren't coming to the top of your head, so you probably had to do a little bit of extra work off to the side, but let's use some estimating here. So we know 78 is about 30, 20, somewhere around there, less than 100. We know 490 is less than 500. So we know if they're both a little bit less, we could try 100 times 5 is 500. So let's try 78 times 5 and see if that's less than our necessary 491. 8 times 5 is 40. 7 times 5 is 35, 36, 7, 38, 39. So we know 78 times 5 is 390. I bet we can fit in another, because we know 100 gets us to 490. So I know we can fit in another 78. 6 times 8 is 48. 6 times 7 is 42. 4, 3, 4, 4, 5, 4, 6. Perfect. So we know 78 can fit into 491 6 times, and that is 468. We're going to subtract. Can't subtract 1 minus 8, so we have to borrow. And now 11 minus 8 is 3. 8 minus 6 is 2. And 4 minus 4 is 0. Alright, let's bring down the next number. So we know 78 times 5 is 390, and we want a lot less than that. We want 234. So maybe let's just try 78 times 3. 8 times 3 is 24. 7 times 3 is 21, 22, 23. Oh, perfect. It works out exactly. 78 fits into 234 3 times. And when you subtract, you get 0.